Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another marvelous video. This one's for all the Predator fans out there because today we're going to be looking at the anatomy of the Drukathi, the ancient alien nemesis that Predators fear. It's going to be a good one, but before we get too deep into it, we do have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who are the Drukathi? The Predators have always been seen as the galaxy's ultimate hunters. Brutal, disciplined, and unmatched in skill. But there's another species out there, one so ancient and mysterious that even the Yautja were scared to say their name. In the Rage War trilogy, a set of novels that go deep into the Alien vs. Predator universe, an elder predator named Kalaktu tells a story that changes everything we thought we knew. Kalaktu was one of the oldest Yautja alive, thousands of years old, carrying knowledge from centuries of hunts. And among his many stories was one about a war with something the Predators could not defeat, a mysterious species known only as the Drukathi. By the time we reach Alien vs. Predator Armageddon, the third book in the series, we finally start to understand who these beings really were. The Drukathi were prehistoric by galactic standards. They were older than humans, older than the xenomorphs, and even older than the Predators themselves. Their technology made Yautja weapons look primitive, and according to Kalaktu, they may have been quietly pulling strings across the stars for centuries. The Drukathi eventually encountered the xenomorphs, and instead of destroying them, they studied and experimented on them. The very thing Weyland-Yutani dreamed of doing, controlling the xenomorphs, the Drukathi might have already achieved long ago. Author Tim Levin created the Drukathi as an ancient civilization lost to time, powerful, intelligent, and terrifying. Since he wasn't allowed to use the engineers, he designed the Drukathi as dog-like aliens with a mix of biological and technological features that made them feel both familiar and completely alien. Even though we only get fragments of their story, the Drukathi remain one of the most intriguing and terrifying additions to the Alien vs. Predator universe. What do the Drukathi look like? The Drukathi weren't just aliens, they were something beyond that. Even among the countless species that exist, the Drukathi stood apart. They moved on four massive muscular legs, their bodies towering and built for dominance. Two long clawed arms hung from their sides for precision, like tools made for hunting and destroying. There was something unnervingly elegant about them too, the way a big cat moves right before it strikes. Their faces, if you could even call them that, were sharp and stretched, almost canine but with a mechanical edge. Their eyes sat deep in the sockets, glowing faintly like something alive looking out from behind glass. Karen Snedden, a science officer aboard the mining ship DSM O'Marion, once reported that a fully grown Drukathi could reach up to 12 feet in length. Now here's where things get weird. Not everyone agrees on what they looked like. Some claim they weren't wolf-like at all, but more like massive arachnids with pale, slick skin, jet black eyes, and rows of needle teeth. 6 limbs instead of 4, built not for grace, but for absolute efficiency, the kind of creature that could tear through armor like paper. But no matter which version you believe, everyone agrees on one thing. The Drukathi were never explorers or diplomats, they were hunters. The Drukathi were said to be carnivorous, capable of consuming just about any organic material they came across. Whether it was for survival or dominance, they always hunted. It's part of what made them so feared. They thrived in hostile environments. Their methods of reproduction were also very unnerving. Even though they were incredibly advanced, their mating rituals were very primal, almost like those of spiders. The Drukathi had a strange and unsettling way of continuing their species. The males would pass a fluid to the females, who carried and nurtured the eggs inside their biomechanical bodies. It didn't take long. Within just a few days, the offspring would hatch, already strong enough to survive on their own. Some accounts suggest that after mating, the female Drukathi would turn on her partner and consume him, not because she was starving, but because it was instinct, a natural part of their life cycle. What is their history? The history of the Drukathi is one of the darkest and most mysterious parts of the Alien vs. Predator universe. Hardly anything is known about where they came from or what led to their downfall, but what little we do know paints a picture of a civilization so ancient it existed long before humanity, maybe even before the Yautja themselves. According to Yautja legends, the Drukathi left the Milky Way galaxy eons ago, venturing into the unknown. But make no mistake, the Predators don't speak of them with respect. They speak of them with hatred and fear. To the Yautja, the Drukathi were dangerous, godlike beings who tampered with life itself. At some point in their history, the Drukathi came across the xenomorph species, and instead of avoiding them like most sane civilizations would, they started experimenting on them. In the year 2159, the crew of the mining ship DSM O'Marion made a shocking discovery on LV-178, the wreck of a massive Drukathi ship. It looked like it had crashed centuries ago, but inside the ship, they found something even worse: rows of dormant xenomorph eggs waiting. From what the evidence showed, it seemed like the Drukathi tried to contain a xenomorph outbreak, but ultimately failed. That entire region of LV-178 became a tomb. Centuries later, Weyland-Yutani stumbled upon the ruins, and they sent a team to investigate, hoping to find something they could use. Of course, it didn't end well. The xenomorphs woke up, tore through the team, and the company barely made it out alive. Years later, a group of scientists known as the Founders discovered something even bigger: a massive artificial structure built by the Drukathi. Inside, they found preserved xenomorph specimens, strange biotech, and a living guardian known as the Phase protecting all of it. The Founders tried to use the ancient technology to strengthen their forces, but what they did almost destroyed humanity. The Yautja later said that this wasn't an accident, but the Drukathi had planned for this to happen. They were still manipulating events, making sure humanity never became powerful enough to threaten them. What their true motives were, nobody knows. What technologies do they command? The technology of the Drukathi wasn't just advanced, it was straight up unnatural. When explorers stumbled upon one of their derelict ships on LV-178, they realized they weren't looking at something built, they were looking at something grown. According to Karen Snedden, the entire vessel was alive. Its surface wasn't made of steel or alloy, it was made of living tissue. The walls pulsed like veins. Metal fused seamlessly with flesh, and the circuitry itself seemed to breathe. It was a perfect fusion of biology and machinery, the kind of thing that shouldn't even be possible, yet there it was, drifting in the void. What's even crazier is that the Drukathi didn't stop there. Their influence went way beyond their own ships. Even the Rage, a faction of living spacecraft later seen in the Rage War trilogy, carried traces of Drukathi design. Like their creators, these ships were alive, capable of healing themselves and adapting to any environment. And then there's the Phase, one of the strangest and most mysterious creations linked to the Drukathi. It was discovered inside a massive Dyson sphere-like structure, basically an artificial world floating in space. Nobody knows for sure what the Phase really was, but many believe it's the ultimate expression of Drukathi biotechnology, a living guardian built to protect whatever secrets their ancient civilization left behind. How did the Drukathi breed or command xenomorphs? We know the Drukathi didn't just find the xenomorphs, they used them. But how exactly did a species, even one as advanced as the Drukathi, manage to control something as uncontrollable as a xenomorph? From what we learn in the Rage War trilogy, the Drukathi were masters of biotechnology. Their ships weren't built like ours, they were grown. Their tools were alive, their structures breathed, and their technology blended flesh and machine in ways that shouldn't even be possible. So when it comes to the xenomorphs, it's believed that they didn't rely on brute force or containment, they used biological control. The books don't explain exactly how they did it, but fans and researchers have theories. Some believe the Drukathi engineered pheromones or neural signals that allowed them to guide the creatures, kind of like how a xenomorph queen controls her hive. It's not official canon, but it makes sense given what we know about their biotech. What we do know for sure is that the Drukathi didn't just study the xenomorphs, they bred them. They raised and experimented on them for reasons no one fully understands. The wreckage found on LV-178, later tied to the Drukathi, showed signs of huge breeding chambers packed with dormant eggs. Whatever they were trying to do down there, it definitely wasn't random. The Drukathi saw potential in these creatures, maybe as weapons, maybe as tools, and they took full advantage of it. But like every story that involves trying to control a xenomorph, it didn't end well. Whatever control the Drukathi had eventually broke down. Their creations turned on them, and their civilization paid the price. What are their weaknesses and limits? You know, for all their power and knowledge, the Drukathi were never untouchable. In the end, it wasn't some great war or rival species that wiped them out, it was their own creations. The very thing that once made them unstoppable became the reason they fell. From what we learn in the Rage War trilogy, the Drukathi were masters of biotechnology, but that brilliance turned into a curse. Nothing the Drukathi made was ever fully mechanical. Everything they created was alive in some way. Their machines, their cities, even their weapons were all connected, like parts of a giant living body. It was power unlike anything else, but that kind of power always comes with a cost. When things begin to fail, their creations didn't just stop working, they changed. They twisted, adapted, and some even turned against the ones who made them. The ruins on LV-178 tell that story clearly. What was once a great Drukathi city became a graveyard. The same xenomorphs they had been breeding and studying took over everything. The wrecked ships and broken breeding chambers were filled with dormant eggs, a sign of a disaster that grew out of control. Whatever control the Drukathi had over the creatures didn't last. The xenomorphs wiped them out, just like they had done to every species that tried to control them. In the end, though, it wasn't the creatures that destroyed the Drukathi, it was their own pride. They thought they were untouchable, smarter than humans, stronger than Yautja, always in control. But they forgot the simplest rule of all: nothing stays under control forever. Long after the Drukathi were gone, the Yautja didn't even remember them as gods or heroes. They remembered them as a warning, a reminder that even the most advanced species can be the cause of its own destruction. How did the Drukathi change the galaxy, and are they still a threat? The Drukathi might be gone, but their presence still lingers. Even after their empire collapsed, the things they built didn't just vanish. Some Yautja tales say the Drukathi interfered with other species, maybe even with humans, so no one else would ever get too strong. Their legacy didn't die with them either. It lived on through the Rage, a ruthless group that used old Drukathi biotech to build living ships and strange hybrid soldiers. These ships were alive, able to heal, to learn, and to move as one mind. Every part of them carried traces of that same unsettling genius the Drukathi were famous for. And then there's the Phase, a living guardian found inside a massive artificial world the Drukathi built a long time ago. When a group of human scientists known as the Founders tried to unlock its secrets, it all went wrong. What they unleashed almost wiped out humanity. The Yautja believe that wasn't an accident. They think the Drukathi planned it that way. A final trap to make sure no species, not even humans, could ever reach their level again. So, are the Drukathi really gone? Maybe they were destroyed by their own creations on LV-178, or maybe, just maybe, they never died at all, and they're waiting somewhere out there in the dark. Marvelous verdict. Well, with that, we've come to the end of yet another marvelous video. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you guys think happened to the Drukathi? Do you believe they were wiped out by their own creations, or did some of them escape somewhere beyond our galaxy? And if they are still out there, then what do you think they're waiting for? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.